Hi, this is Tanya from Four Threads, and today we'll be making Ribbie the Frog. So for this tutorial, you will need scissors, black thin yarn, this is Burnette Blanket for the mouth detail, black chunky yarn for the eyes, pink chunky yarn for the cheeks, and then a green color for the body. So this is Olive from Hobby Lobby, but today I'll be using this green Mystic color from Burnette Blanket. Very excited. Haven't used that before. And also you'll need polyfill to fill your frog. So let's get started. We'll leave a tail about 5 to 6 inches long and start with a slip knot. I like to make my loops about a thumb in width, and we're going to chain 6, including the slip knot loop. Okay, and that is 6. Now we're going to take this last loop and turn it up, and then take the tail and bring it through the space underneath that last loop. Then we will pull up 4 more loops for a total of 5. Okay, once we complete our 5th loop, that completes row 1. So for the beginning of row 2, we will knit 1, and then we will do a bobble stitch. So that means we knit as we normally would, but then we bring our working yarn to the front and we push it through that same loop. So now we have 2. Then we bring them together and decrease them. And that is a bobble stitch. Okay? So then we will knit 2, and then we will do another bobble stitch. So that again, we pull the yarn through like we're knitting, then bring the working yarn to the front and push it through like we're doing a purl stitch. And now we have 2 loops. We bring them together and decrease them. Okay, so that completes row 2. Now if you notice, we have 1 knit stitch, 2 bobble stitches, and 2 knits in the back. This 1 stitch will be the front of our frog, and these 2 will be the back of our frog. And then these 2 bobble stitches will be the eyes. So now for row 3, we'll begin with an increase. Then we knit 1, increase again, then knit 1, increase again, and then knit 2, and then increase one more time, and then knit 1, and that completes row 3. So now we've gone from 5 loops to 9 loops. Okay, and I like to just count to make sure that I have the correct number of loops. And then for row 4, we are going to knit 9 all the way around. Okay, that completes row 4. So for row 5, we are going to increase and then knit 3, and then increase again. And this is actually our last increase of the whole pattern. And then we are going to knit all the way back to the beginning, which is 6. Okay, and that increases from 9 to 11. And again, I like to count to make sure that we have 11 loops. And then at this point, from row 6 to 10, we are going to knit all the way around 11 stitches for a total of 55. Now that that's complete, we have the body of our frog done. I like to cut a tail here just so that we can finish off. But before we close it, we're going to add our details. We're going to close off the top here by taking the tail and weaving it through from the outside in, just to close off this beginning chain. Once that's done, we can just take our tail and bring it into the body. And then we can just double knot it on the inside to secure it. Okay, so with that done, we are going to add all of our details. So if you look at our frog, these are the places where the eyes are going to go. And then here, the difference between the front and the back is 1 stitch versus 2 stitches in the back. So I feel like the 1 stitch in the front makes the eyes closer together, which makes it look more like a face. So that's why I like to put the eyes in this side. And then I like to pull on the bobble stitches a little bit just to make the eye sockets where we're going to put our black knots for the eyes. So I'm going to take our black yarn and tie a double knot. And I like to make both before I attach them to the frog. And then I look at our frog, put one hand on the inside, and just feel underneath or right in front of that bobble stitch. Pull up this 1 stitch and then stick the tails of our knot on either side of that 1 stitch. And then pull the 2 tails in to the inside. And I like to play around, make sure our eye is where I want it, and push it down into the little eye socket like that. And then I knot it on the inside to secure it. There we are. That's 1 eye. Now we're going to do the second eye, and I like to look for the same placement as our first eye. So here we are. Again, I'll pull up 1 stitch and then insert the 2 tails of our eye on either side of that 1 stitch. And you want to try to make sure that when you're putting in the yarn eyes, you choose a stitch that's really close to our bobble stitches. That way we can pull the knot and kind of make that bobble stitch an eye socket. And I like to just push it into that space and just make it look more like 2 eye sockets, like that. And then again, we're going to tie a double knot on the inside to secure that eye. Okay, and at this point, if you'd like to add the white detail on the side of the eye here, you could. You would just add some thinner Burnett blanket yarn in white on either side, but we're not going to do that today. It's totally optional. Now to add our cheeks, we're going to find the stitch right here that kind of lines up with the edge of our eye. And then just like when we did the eyeballs, we're going to put a tail from each side of our pink yarn on either side of one stitch and pull it through to the inside. Just like that. And then we will tie it on the inside to secure. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side of the face. And I just try to make sure that I kind of line it up and find the same stitch on the other side. Again, pull the two tails into either side of one stitch, pull them into the body, the tails, and then we're going to tie them to secure. And I always like to double check to make sure my cheeks are lined up and look the same and look symmetrical. Okay, here we go. Now that's done. Now the last part is to add our mouth. So for the mouth placement, I'm going to show you here. I like to place the mouth between the two eyes, just like this. And in my opinion, it makes it look more like a frog, like a complete frog. But if you want to, you can put it lower down here, and then it looks more like a frog head, which is not wrong. If you like that look, by all means, but I like it on the top. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so I'm going to pull in my yarn right next to the space next to one eye, and then go across to the other side next to the second eye. Just like this. But before I pull it all the way through, I'm going to come up 2 rows down or 2 stitches down in the middle. Make that tail a little shorter. Then go loop that around our initial line and then bring the needle right back down in the same hole. And that kind of makes a V like this for our mouth. And I like to just adjust it before I tie my knots on the inside. Make sure it looks the way I want. And then I'm going to tie a knot on the inside to secure those pieces of yarn. And then we're all done. That's our face. So now all that's left to do is fill our frog with polyfill. So when I'm filling, I like to fill it pretty firm because I like a nice round shape. But I also try to balance it and not overfill it, because then if it's overly full, it's hard to get a flat bottom. And therefore, if it's too round, it won't stand up straight. So you have to kind of find the happy medium. And I like to kind of press on my filling and make it look a little flat. Just do your best. And then we're going to take our tail and pull it through all the loops to close off the bottom of our frog. And this frog actually was made with my friends that make or do markets or sell plushies at markets, because it doesn't take a lot of yarn. It's a little less than 9 yards of the green color. And from one skein, you can probably make about 3. And then it's pretty quick and works up pretty quickly. So I tried to think of something that would be easy for my market vendor friends to make to sell. And that was the thought process behind this frog. So now that we've come around back to the beginning, we're just going to tie a double knot to secure the tail and close off. And then we can just tuck that tail into the body of our frog. Okay, and that's it. So now I'm just going to use my scissors to tuck in the tail, and that is it. Our frog Ribby is complete, and I hope you enjoyed this pattern, and I will see you next time.